At this point, I want to introduce one of the architects of that, and certainly the loudest voice in that fight, Congressman Patrick Kennedy.
Well, thank you all very much. I know you've already heard from my colleagues, and you've heard from so many others. This is, it's kind of like the saying goes, everything's been said, but not everybody has said it. And, anyway, I just want to commend all of you for the work that you're doing. This is an issue which the silence is deafening. It's the biggest issue facing our country by far, on the health issue, on the criminal justice issue, and on the issue of human suffering. And it's amazing to me that, given all of that, that there isn't a greater recognition of how central this issue is in mental health and addiction to our awareness as a nation. And what you are all doing in raising awareness about the symptom of mental health and sickness within mental health, which is the ultimate in lack of intervention, which is suicide, is so commendable. And the tragedy is that it's still such a stigma that people don't appreciate the numbers. And the numbers are sobering. The numbers are that for every one homicide, there's roughly 2 suicides. And when Jim Ramstad and I did our hearings around the country, we met with families of suicide victims, and they would present the basically the obituary pages in their local communities, and they would circle the suicides. But of course, most people wouldn't know what they were unless they were circled, because they were never written up as suicides. And of course, that's the problem too, is that most of the American public don't appreciate the extent to which the numbers are so striking. Suicide being the 3rd leading cause of death amongst young people 15 to 24. That is just absolutely striking. And with those statistics, it is an epidemic, and so little attention is given to the fact that well over 30,000 suicides occur every year. It's frankly a great deal more than that. The suicide rate amongst our veterans is skyrocketing, and we can only count on it going up even more with the lack of adequate prevention. And that is why we need to work now to intervene so that we don't see this become an even greater epidemic than it already has become. So I want to thank all of you for doing what you're doing, raising awareness, and reaching out where we can reach young people, and that is through music. And reaching out through the culture that can reach young people. And of course, music is the touchstone for a lot of people, young people, to connect where they can't otherwise connect in a culture. So it's a very appropriate place for us to be able to reach out with the message of mental health. I have been in recovery for most of my life, and I've been very fortunate to get treatment. And frankly, because it's a chronic illness, like any other chronic illness, I've had to seek treatment more than once. And unfortunately, because of that, most people think that's a moral failure, even though I had several years of sobriety in the interim period. If it were cancer and became malignant again, no one would bother me with the fact that I would have to go back for chemotherapy. But of course, that's not the case with a mental illness and a brain disorder. And so we have a situation where I've got several newspapers in my district who've said they're not going to endorse me and have called on me to not run again and to resign, in fact, back in my district because of the simple fact that I sought treatment once again, rather than suffer the consequences of not seeking treatment. And rather than have any problems related to not seeking treatment. And so because I had an early warning system, because I had a support network, I was able to get in early and not have to find out that I needed treatment like I did the first time, where I had to get into an automobile accident before I got treatment. So it's just striking to me that even when you try to do the right thing, it's still held against you. But that is the nature of the disease. The fact is, stigma still pervades. And you know what? For me, I can speak out on it because I have no worry that anything's going to be held against me because I'm a member of Congress and I come from a prominent family. No one can do anything to me. But to most people, they can lose their jobs if someone finds out they have a mental illness. They can lose their health care coverage. They can lose their mortgage. They can lose their loans from a bank. I mean, they can lose their everything that they know. So for them to become public, it's a whole nother deal. So people say to me, oh, you're so courageous, you can come out and you can talk about it. I'm not courageous. The fact is, I have a whole, invisible, screen that just protects me from any kind of threat that anyone can make to me whatsoever. And that allows me to be able to speak out. But you know what? There is an organization called Faces and Voices of Recovery. And I encourage people to join it if they're so able to. Because one of the things we have to get over is the sense that we have to hide. And anonymity is important to people, and they should maintain it whenever it's important to them. But also making sure people can understand that it's not something that they should be afraid of or ashamed of is also an important message to send to society. So if people suffer from a mental illness, please think about also becoming a face and voice of recovery. It will help others to seek recovery themselves. Thank you for being here today, and keep up the great work.
I never want to disagree with a sitting congressman, but today I will. It still takes courage, even in spite of that barrier that you have, and you are an inspiration. So we do understand the difficulties that people that don't have the support that you have in coming out. But you are our hero, and thank you for all you do in Congress. And let's hope those newspapers go the way most newspapers are going in Rhode Island. The internet will save you. So everybody get on a blog and text and Twitter and Facebook and make sure that your support of the congressman is heard in Rhode Island. I am from Rhode Island, by the way. I don't know if you ever knew that. I grew up in Westerly. So my whole family's up there, and they will all be voting for you.
That was the reason I came this morning.
They don't like the pro joke, trust me. With that, we're going to close the press conference. Thank you all for coming, and I thank all you in the internet world for watching. Please retweet so that everyone knows that this event happened, because until everyone in America knows what we spoke of today, we're not doing our job.
And people ought to contact their members of Congress to support mental health parity in the health care bill.
So that it doesn't get diluted.
So it doesn't get diluted. And in this health care bill, we got to make sure that mental health is on par with other physical illnesses for health care coverage, and that it's integrated into overall health care coverage, because every physical illness has a mental health component to it, and we finally have to recognize that if we're going to have true health care reform. So please call your members of Congress to lobby.
More than one. Call them repeatedly until they vote yes. That's just advocating. We're not lobbying here. Thank you all for coming, and I appreciate your support of the Hope Center, To Write Love in Our Arms, of Blue October, and again, our prayers, our support go to Justin, his family, and we hope for a speedy recovery, and that he can soon come out and continue his phenomenal spokes advocacy work that he's doing for the cause. Thank you all.